Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Today our group will present about North America. So our group consists of me, Nur Najwa Nabila, Ramla Unding and Nur Fazana. In this slide, we can see the map of North America. North America is the third largest continent in the world, ranking just below Asia and Africa. North America is bordered by the three of the world's largest ocean, namely the Atlantic, Arctic and Pacific. I want to tell you a fact that if you are taught that United States was the largest country in the North America, you are wrong. The largest country in the North America is Canada at 3.855 million square miles. Additionally, Canada is also the second largest country in the world after Russia.
The North America region is comprised of two countries, which are Canada and the United States. The United States and Canada are among the world's largest countries in terms of area, have relatively low population density, a wealth of natural resources, and high material living standards. Canada's huge land area is sparsely inhabited with a population of 39.2 million in 2022, while the United States is the world's third largest country in terms of populations, which is 332.4 million in 2022. Next, the very high living standards in Canada and the United States attract migrants from all over the world who seek prosperity and stability in North America. Canada and the United States are bound on the east by the Atlantic Ocean, separating them from Europe and Africa by thousands of miles.
Next, I will explain about the types of climates in North America. Climatic environments within North America are mainly temperate mid-latitude. The western coast is dominated by the temperate west coast and Mediterranean climates that give way to eastward to temperate interior and temperate east coast climates. Southernmost Florida has tropical, humid conditions, and the Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida and the Atlantic coast as far north as the Virginia Tidewater region have subtropical conditions that bring hot, humid summers with many thunderstorms and annual threat of hurricanes. In northern Canada and Alaska, the climate consists of very prolonged cold winters and short mild summers. Warm, dry southwestern air or humid air from the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico move northward in spring and summer.
Next, I will talk about environmental problem, which is natural hazard and regional environmental issue. For natural hazard, first is drought. Drought is deficiency of precipitation over an extended period of time, usually a season or more, resulting in the water shortage. Droughts occur most often in the southern and western part of the US, affecting everything from available water for consumption to tourism to energy production. Next is tornado. Tornado is as a rotating fan-shaped cloud that extends from a thunderstorm to the ground with really wind that can reach 300 miles per hour. Tornado affect many parts of the US, but the most common in the aptly named Tornado Alley, where the cold air from the Canada mixed with the warm moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Third is earthquake. Earthquake is a sudden violent shaking of the ground as a result of movement within the earth crust or volcanic action. Earthquakes occur at the fault line where the earth is less stable. The San Andreas fault line through California resulting in the high number of earthquakes there, and in many surrounding states like Nevada, Wyoming, and Utah. However, the most intense earthquake recorded in the US has been Alaska. Fourth is hurricane. Hurricane is called as tropical cyclone with maximum sustained wind of 74 miles per hour or even higher. Hurricane in the east coast of the US are Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and Louisiana has been seen most over the year due to their proximity to the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. These states experience hurricane anywhere from the 1st June to the November 30. Next is river flood. Flash flooding occur in the origin in the United States, particularly in the western arid region after sudden rain, fill dry streambed. The last one is landslide. Heavy bouts of rain can cause landslide. Mountainous regions of the country like Canadian Rockies see many landslides each year. Now, let's move on to regional environmental issue. The first issue is air pollution. Air pollution can be defined as alteration of the air quality that can be characterized by measurement of chemical, biological or physical pollutant in the air. In 2021 alone, about 60 million tons of pollution were emitted into the atmosphere in the US, mainly coming from the transportation and electric power sector. The second issue is water pollution. According to US Environmental Protection Agency EPA, approximately half of the country's rivers and streams are polluted and unfit for swimming, fishing and drinking. California State Water Resources Control Board found that in the western state alone, nearly 1 million people face possible long-term health conditions from drinking water containing unsafe level of contaminants such as arsenic and nitrate. The third issue is deforestation. Each year, the US population grows by more than 1 million people. Rapid influx of people has increased the demand for urbanization, resulting in the troubling rise in deforestation as we seek to find more land on which to build. The next issue is global warming. Global warming is the long-term warming of the planet overall temperature, from melting glacier to the more intense hurricane. Earth's rising temperature are causing negative effect on both local climates, weather pattern, and nearly every community in the US and on the planet as a whole. The last issue is wildfire. Wildfire is uncontrolled fire that burn in one-land vegetation, often in rural area. Sometimes, fire occurs naturally ignited by the heat from the sun or lightning strike. However, the majority of wildfire are result of human carelessness. In 2020, the US experienced one of the largest wildfires in history, which lasts for the entire year, showing through part of California, Oregon, and Washington state.
Moving to the next slide, which is history and culture. North America and its indigenous populations were largely unknown to the rest of the world before Columbus expeditions beginning in 1492. The indigenous people of North America lived in society based on agriculture, hunting, trading, and the local communal sharing of resources. In the 3 centuries after the European discovery of the regions, North America became a series of colonies and occupied territories governed by the French, Spanish, British, Dutch, Russians, and Swedes. The British became the dominant power by the mid-1700s. St. Lawrence River Valley fought to become the independent United States of America by signing the Declarations of Independence in 1776, forcing Britain to recognize the United States sovereignty. Canada achieved a degree of independence through the British North America Act in 1867 while maintaining legal ties to Britain in 1982. Next, Native Americans. The first Americans probably migrated from Siberia to Alaska over 20,000 years ago. By AD 1500, they lived in hierarchically structured ethnic groups, commonly called tribes, adapted structure and distributions to the physical environments. Communities in the eastern forest raised corn, beans, and squash, hunted and fished, and lived in village settlements. Those in warmer lower Mississippi Valley used a surplus from farming to support urban developments, while hunting groups such as Dakota inhabited the prairie environments on the plains between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains. Third, European settlers. The French settled the mouth of the St. Lawrence River in Present-day Canada from the early 1500s, while the Spanish settled parts of present-day Colorado, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Florida, and the Carolinas from the 1500s. When areas such as southern North America did not deliver the gold that they hoped for, the British first targeted the tidewater land surrounding the Chesapeake Bay for colonial development. Next point is wealth of natural resources. The resource wealth of the region provided a solid foundation for the settlers to establish commercial farming and other resource-related industries. So first point is primary products and new lands. New York encouraged the commercial farming of subtropical crops such as tobacco, sugarcane, rice and indigo, and later cotton in the 1600s and 1700s. Second, slower Canadian changes. In the post-World War II era, rich stock of metal ores in Canadian North, such as coal, oil, and natural gas in Alberta, and hydroelectric power generations in northern Quebec ignited new geographic directions of development and provided the basis for growing Canadian affluence. Third, resources for United States manufacturing. Independence motivated Americans to establish their own manufacturing industry, providing goods that were at first not obtainable from Britain.
Next, I will present about the trade organization that related to North America, which are Group 8, NAFTA, and United Nations. The first organization is Group 8 or known as G8. The Group of 8 was a political group made up of 8 countries which are France, Japan, Italy, Germany, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, and Russia. The G8 was established in 1997. Half of the world's entire economic wealth is composed of the combined economic wealth of the G8 nations. The G8 was formed to provide a forum for the world's most influential political leaders to discuss about global issues. The purpose of the organization was to function as a way for the most industrialized and democratic nations to gather officially and find peaceful solutions to world problems such as security issues and arms control, international crime and drugs, the internet, the environment, human rights, world hunger, and medicines. The role of the G8 was to brainstorm ways to promote economic prosperity among other nations. It aspired to accomplish these problems without causing further political or social turmoil or intergovernmental tensions. The second organization is NAFTA. NAFTA stands for North American Free Trade Agreement. Preliminary agreement on the pact was reached in August 1992 and it was signed by the 3 leaders on December 17. NAFTA was ratified by the 3 countries' national legislature in 1993 and went into effect on 1 January 1994, which remained in force until it was replaced in 2020. The controversial trade pact signed in 1992 that gradually eliminated most tariff and other trade barriers on products and services passing between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Proponents argue that establishing a free trade area in North America would bring prosperity through increased trade and production, resulting in the creation of millions of well-paying jobs in all participating countries. The third organization is United Nations. The headquarters of United Nations is in New York City. The United Nations officially began on 24 October 1945. It was established after World War II with the aim of preventing future world wars succeeding the League of Nations. It came into existence after its charter had been ratified by China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States, which are permanent members and they have the power to veto council decisions. More than 75 years until now, the United Nations is still working to maintain international peace and security, give humanitarian assistance to those in need, protect human rights, and uphold international law. At the same time, the United Nations has set sustainable development goals for 2030 in order to achieve more sustainable future and also agreed to climate action to limit global warming. Critics question the validity of the UN due to the unequal distribution of power on the Security Council, and they argue that large economies and influential countries like Brazil, Germany, India, and Japan should be considered for permanent seat and veto power.
Now I will explain about the current issue in North America. The current issue in the United States is refugee and migrants' rights. Authorities continue to drastically limit access to asylum at the US-Mexico border, resulting in irreparable harm to the many of thousands of people, including children, who were seeking safety from the persecution or other serious human rights violations in their country of origin. Border control officials carry out unnecessary and unlawful pushback of nearly 1.5 million refugees and migrants at the USA-Mexico border, both at and between official port of entry, using as a pretext public health provision under Title 42 of the US Code during the COVID-19 pandemic. Returnees were summarily expelled without access to asylum procedure, legal remedies, or individual risk assessment. And also, if you see in this slide, this is a real situation how border control officials control the USA-Mexico border. The current issue in Canada is discrimination. Racialized communities continue to experience systematic racism, including in interaction with police force. In December 2020, Black federal employees launched a landmark class action lawsuit against the federal government alleging decades of systematic and institutional racism in the public service. The case remained pending before the Federal Court of Canada at the end of the year. In May, Indigenous leaders called for an investigation of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on Vancouver Island after the shooting of 2 people in the first half of 2021, which left 1 dead and 1 seriously injured. In August, Human Rights and Youth Rights Commission of Quebec published a report indicating that racialized profiling complaints had increased by 87%.
The United States is divided into 9 regions, which are New England, Megalopolis, Manufacturing Belts, Appalachia, U.S. Heartland, Midwest and Great Plains, the South, Western Mountains, Pacific Coast, Alaska and Hawaii. First, New England. Settlers from Europe first established ports and townships in the southern parts of New England. The southern part of New England became the first industrialized area of the United States in the early 1800s. New England's established manufacturing industries declined in the mid-1900s. Also, during and after World War II, many of the traditional industries were replaced by high-technology computer designs and manufacturing, airplane engine-related industry, and other favored again by high levels of defense spending throughout the Cold War period. Second, Megalopolis. From the Greater Washington, D.C. until the southwest end of its long urban arm to Boston at the northeastern ends. Urban chains of megalopolis include Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York. Use roads and railroads as transportation mode for many places. Specials distributions are largely built over land that has closely spaced metropolitan cities and predominance of urban and urban link activities. Third, manufacturing belts. Between the 1800s and mid-1900s, an area stretching from Boston on the east coast through Philadelphia westward to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, and Chicago became so dominated by manufacturing industries that it was termed the manufacturing belts. The textile and metal goods industries continued to develop in the east. In the east, the Pittsburgh-Cleveland area became important in steel and heavy engineering. Detroit became the center for the automobile and truck industry, and the Chicago area produced a range of engineering and farm machinery. Fourth, Appalachia. Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, Western Virginia, and Eastern Tennessee, one of the poorest part of the U.S. Lack of employment opportunity caused many younger families to leave it for the prospect of jobs elsewhere. In the early 1900s, its economy became diversified with the availability of cheap electrical power through the Tennessee Valley Authority. Fifth, U.S. Heartlands, Midwest, and Great Plains. North of the Ohio River and the Ozark Mountain is agricultural regions. 8 of the top 10 farming states are found in this part is called breadbasket of the country because of its production of grain crops. This region produces sufficient food to make up for predicted shortage elsewhere in the world. The term Midwest is applied to the 8 states of the Corn Belts and Great Lakes area. The eastern parts overlaps with the manufacturing belts so that cities such as Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, and Cincinnati stands amidst the world's most productive farming regions. 6. The South. The American South extends from the southern Atlantic Australian plain westward to southern Mississippi River and beyond into eastern Texas. Florida is physically part of the South, but economically and culturally it has ties to the Southeast and Northeast United States as well as to Latin America. All of the southern states suffered after the Civil War, experiencing decades of poverty, while the northern states made huge strides in industrial expansions and garnered significant material wealth. Western Mountains. The western one-third of the U.S. is a mountainous region. The highest ranges are the Rockies and the East and the Sierra Nevada of California and the Cascades on the west. Population densities are low throughout much of the area. The federal government owns extensive land throughout the regions and vast territories are designated as national parks, national forests, or grazing lands. Most of the water available in these predominantly arid regions falls on the mountains as snow and runs off in swollen streams during the spring sessions. Next region is Pacific Coast. Before World War II, the main products were timber in the north and farm products in the growing motion picture industry in the south. Because of World War II, in the Pacific placed manufacturing and military centers along the coast. The Columbia River became a staircase of huge hydroelectricity stations that support 11 aluminium smelters and a handful of nuclear weapons, facility among other industries at the expense of the river's salmon populations. Last but not least, Alaska and Hawaii. Alaska is area that bought from Russia in 1867. Alaska resources of fuels and metals ores, Yukon lowlands, little mining or manufacture output to trade in that directions. Furthermore, military increased during Cold War, mountains and abundant wildlife support tourism industry. While Hawaii is a naval port and a source of agricultural products, the region is tiny but have more people, international tourist industry and suffer from a poor business climate. Canada is divided into 6 regions which are Atlantic provinces, Quebec, Ontario, Prairie provinces, West Coast and Northern Canada. The first one is Atlantic provinces. The East Coast forms the hilly Atlantic provinces of Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick. The economy based at first on fishing and farming, then by mining and manufacturing. In 1980s, 30,000 fishers and fish plant workers lost their job due to declining fish stock. Second is Quebec. Quebec covers a large area extending northward to include most of the peninsula east of Hudson Bay. The two largest cities, Quebec City and Montreal, have a range of manufacturing and service industries that place them among the world's greatest cities. Third is Ontario. Ontario became the center of British rule after 1776 is possessed the best farming lands. Southern Ontario between Lakes Huron, Ontario and Erie have a relatively mild climate considering its interior locations on the North American continent. Fourth, Prairie provinces. The Prairie provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta were settled following the building of the Canadian Pacific and Canadian National Railroads in the late 18th. In the early 19th, they became major wheat-growing areas. Fifth, West Coast. British Columbia faces the Pacific Oceans and includes all the mountainous west of Canada, apart from a range share with southwestern Alberta. It is a province of geographically concentrated economic activity, including pockets of mining, fruit growing, and tourism in small lowland areas that are separated by high mountains. Last but not least, Northern Canada. The northern part of all the provinces from Saskatchewan to British Columbia and in the barren rock, trees, and tundra that characterize Northern Canada. The Northwest and Yukon territories long form the largest part of Canada, a federally controlled zone where few people live permanently apart from American Indian and Eskimo groups of Native Americans.
Next, I will explain about the economic activities for each region in North America. I will explain about the economic activities in the United States. The first one is New England. It is now the hub of education, research, high technology including the manufacturing of computers and electronic equipment, finance and medicines. Then Megalopolis, the leading hub for banking, finance and communication. It is also a significant manufacturing hub and a shipping port with a flourishing technology industry like Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. Next is manufacturing belt. Local economies in these states specialize in large-scale manufacturing of finished medium to heavy industrial and consumer products, as well as the transportation and processing of the raw materials required for heavy industry. Then we have Appalachia. Appalachia is now diverse into new manufacturing and service industries, as well as a popular tourist destination. After that, U.S. Heartland. Excel especially in high technology advanced manufacturing and energy output, and the heartland produces over half of the country's agricultural output. Next, we have the South. The South is booming with a service economy, manufacturing-based, high technology industries, and the financial sector, as well as the energy industry and automation. Next, the Western Mountains. It is a major transportation center for aerospace, electronics, and semiconductor manufacturing, including tourism in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is home to many casinos and entertainment companies. Next, Pacific Coast. It is a major city for technology companies like Google and Apple, as well as the music and film industry and farming in Central California. Next is Hawaii. Hawaii's major industry is tourism. Since World War II, expansion has been particularly rapid, partly due to the ongoing transportation improvements as well as the stimulus offered by the state government and local industries. Hawaii emergence as the Pacific Basin's worldwide market hub has been aided by the tourism. Last but not least, we have Alaska. Alaska's economy is primarily made up of the oil and gas sector. The oil industry provides over 85% of the state budget. Numerous economic sectors, including the oil sector in Alaska, are reliant on the performance of the global oil market. The last economic activity is in Canada. Atlantic Province has a largely resource-based economy. It is famous for its fisheries and coastal towns. Fishing and agriculture is their important industry. This province is famous for its fertile soil, and its farmers grow some of the best potatoes. Quebec is also home to much of Canada's economic activity. The province is Canada's leading source of pulp and paper and produces a lot of hydroelectricity. Other key industries include aeronautics, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, forestry, mining, and filmmaking. Ontario is home to much of Canada's economic activity. It hosts a wide variety of industries, from those dedicated to harnessing the province's vast natural resources to manufacturing, service, and high technology industries. Prairie Province is a very significant with grain exporter, and the mining and manufacturing sectors are also important economic drivers. Next, we have Alberta. Alberta is well known as being a lead producer and exporter of beef products. It is also a large producer of oil and gas. Next, British Columbia Province's leading industry is forestry. In fact, about half of the products produced in the province are forestry related. Next, the Northwest Territories is the extraction of natural resources, and the service sector are the main driver of the economy, such as mining in Yukon has rapidly expanding tourism industry. Last but not least, Nunavut's economy is heavily dependent on its natural resources, which include precious metals, diamonds, petroleum, and natural gas.
That's all from us. Thank you.